Is this right? Is this the just God? It cannot be. God cannot, God does not create someone with a sin that leads to a sinful life, and then at the end, God will judge that person. How and why and when? Why did you commit that sin? God is not leading someone to fall into sin and then asking that person, why did you fall? God is not putting some kind of an obstacle in front of someone and that person falls, and then we say, why did you fall? In a different example, say you are pushing someone to fall. Once you push that person to fall, and then you ask him, how come you fell? Then the other person will tell you, you pushed me to fall. It is not my mistake. How are you going to judge me and tell me how come you fell and you are the one who pushed me to fall? God does not push any human being to sin. This is against his nature. This is against his holiness. He is the holiness itself. Himself, God, is the holiness. He is the purity. In him and with him and by him we live. God cannot create someone living in sin, cannot create someone with a sin, and then at the last day he tells that person, how come you were sinful? The other point of if it is genetically determined or not, up till this moment in 2011, there were theories and researchers trying to get to the point of saying it is genetically determined, to try to sugarcoat that sin and to sugarcoat that whole sinful road, and at the end say it is not a sin. It is a sin. We read about it in Romans 1, in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, in the book of Leviticus. In those three parts, we read about homosexuality, that it is sinful, it's a sinful road, and God does not accept that way of living. As for how, if we think about, should we love those people? Should we care about those people? Yes, we should love them as any other human being. Should we care about them? Yes, we should care about them as any other human being falling into sin. But it doesn't make it an exceptional sin to say, oh, it is genetically determined. We try, and people who are not living according to the commandment of the Lord are trying to justify that sin by saying it is genetically determined. And up till this moment, and from a physician standpoint, it is not determined, and it will not be determined that it is genetically, it is of genetical origin, because God cannot create and does not create someone with a sin. That person lives a sinful life, and at the judgment day, God is asking that person, how come you were homosexual? Is this the right and the just God? No way. Is this the merciful God? No way. May his name be glorified. His name is to be glorified. We cannot say that God creates someone in sin and then that person dies and then God is going to judge him. This is not the right approach at all. God does not create homosexual persons. God creates human beings according to his image. Then that person deviates from the path that God put in front of that person, starts to be inclined more and more to sexual relationships, to sin, and then commits that sin in full. Should we say this is God's way? At all, it is not God's way. By all means, It cannot be, and it should not be. Again, his name be glorified. It is not genetically determined. It will not be discovered, and I'm saying it boldly, that it cannot be determined, and it will not be determined as it is of genetical origin, because if we say that, then the genes, it's coming from the creation, and then I was created homosexual. This is impossible. This cannot happen. May the name of the Lord be glorified. Again, this is a sin, and please be watchful. We love them. We care about them as anyone falling into sin, but we should not say, oh, he is homosexual, he was created this way, what should we do? There is no research determined to say it is genetically determined. Should they adopt? Another question, should they adopt kids? God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So God created a man and a woman to care for children. And to care for children, that means each one is important in helping those children grow, mature, be responsible in life, and grow in knowing the Lord God himself. So to say, can they have children? The relationship of those men or those ladies will be imperfect, will be incomplete. They cannot fulfill what God had created, what God had formed, what God had offered to have a man and a woman, both of them, caring for those children. And I believe that this is an important issue about the homosexuality. And thank you. The question that we have now is, should I listen to my parents even though I know that they could be wrong? Should I obey my parents if I know that they could be wrong? Well, first of all, do not forget that they are your parents. You need to talk with them with respect, with love, with understanding. Three main points. Have